Now back to the show. This is The Law Show on CL 650.
Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Man, it doesn't show signs of stopping. And I brought me
I'll have mine on the rocks, Dean. Thanks very much. Welcome back to the Law Show here on CIL 650. Sterling Fox joined in studio by Rudy Kisher and Alex Stojcevic from Maynard, Kisher, Stojcevic, Immigration and Citizenship Lawyers in Yaletown, if you want to be specific about where the office is in Vancouver at 1168 Hamilton Street. Gentlemen, we talked about the big cases, certainly the legal cases on the immigration and citizenship files of 2015, as we turn our attention to just a few short days from now when 2016 kicks in. We'll talk about some of the changes the Trudeau government might bring in, but there are a couple of things already on the books that Canadians really need to pay a lot of attention to. There are big changes coming for traveling Canadians in 2016, Rudy. Something called an electronic travel authorization form, certificate, document. What is it?
Well, it'll be an application that'll have to be not by Canadians. So Canadians are exempt from it. But so picture yourself, you've got a brother that lives in England and he's flying over.
Okay.
And after March 15th, he wants to get on the plane, or March 17th, I think.
15th.
Yep. He
wants to be here for St. Patrick's Day.
He wants to be here for St. Patrick's Day. He won't be able to get on the plane unless he makes this electronic application. So before he gets on the plane, at home preferably, he'll have to go online. There's a web page which is already has a page up, but it's not really functioning that well.
Okay.
And he'll have to make an application that'll cost $7, I think.
$7.
$7. And that application will then ask him a series of questions, and they'll ask him if he has a criminal record, if he's ever had trouble with immigration, etc. So before, he's never had to do that. The way our world is generally divided into two types of people: what we call visa requiring people,
yes,
and visa exempt people.
Yeah.
So most people from Western Europe, from Japan, from
Australia,
they're able to get on a plane.
Commonwealth
cousins are able to, Israelis able to get on a plane
and just pop
over, saying they're coming as a visitor, not have to do anything besides buy their ticket.
So
and
why
have
did we
a
change
passport.
the rule, Rudy? What's up here?
The idea is to sort of push the perimeter out. So we have an agreement with other countries that we are going to try and share security and increase security. And the thought process is that if we can do this overseas, so we push the problem out. If somebody is going to be a problem traveler, right? Isn't it easier to deal with them, actually not to deal with them? So the thought is they show up at the airport, they can't get on. So if somebody flies into Canada and they've had a refugee claim before, for example, or they've got a DUI and they're not admissible to Canada, or they're associated with a criminal organization, or they've got maybe they're associated with money laundering or other sorts of crimes, that, they don't have to declare that or talk about that before they end up at the airport in Vancouver. So all of a sudden, immigration has to take time, space, manpower, and deal with them. And this will allow them to sort of clear those people before they get here without putting in this sort of heavy process of what we have right now for people, for example, coming from India, have to apply for a visa.
Yes.
And they have to fill out a bunch of forms. They have to maybe attend at the consulate. It takes a lot of time. This is sort of a happy medium, if you will, in which it'll be very quick. It'll, they're saying it'll take about 2 minutes to fill out and answer some questions, and then it gives immigration a chance to sort of reject somebody before they even get on the plane.
Alex, if my family member in England is going to have to do this after March 15th just to come visit, why don't I have to do the same to go visit him next summer in the UK?
Well, this is being changed everywhere. Increasingly, see, Australia's implemented a version of this system. The United States has implemented a version of this system. The challenge with the UK is that the UK has two masters, really. They have these collective agreements they've signed with
the EU,
with the European Union, as well as with the rest of the English-speaking world, which is part of the 5-country agreement on information sharing relating to immigration and customs data. So the UK is in a bit of a difficult situation. There's also UK privacy law, which is very, very strict compared to many other countries. So there's a number of challenges in the UK context. But in the Canadian context, what's important is this is coming March 15th, $7. Most people are only going to have to fill this in once for the validity of their passport. Okay, so that's the good news in this, I suppose, is that you don't have to do it on every trip. You only have to do it once per passport validity.
Okay, and we've now got 10-year passports too, right?
Well, and in some countries they only have 5.
Yes,
some
exactly.
will have 3 months,
Sure.
4 months. You know, I mean, it's going to come down to what you've got in your individual passport. It is another layer, though, that people have to consider before they get on the plane, because we can already foresee the situation where people aren't aware of this, and that becomes an issue.
So can we tell the family in England already? Can we send them an email going, look,
yes.
we know you're coming over in the spring, so you're going to have a new document or a new hurdle to clear before you come to Canada. So why don't you get onto the Government of Canada website? Can they do it now
they can
from
do
abroad?
It now. They can
maybe
do
not
it now,
this morning.
But
I
not
think
this morning. The system's got problems, right? I mean,
right.
The technology, as usual, when they roll it out, almost immediately has issues, and this is another example of that.
Okay.
The people that are exempt from this are Americans. So for your listeners, if they have American friends coming to visit them, the United States is exempt from this at this time.
Okay.
So the people that this does apply to, though, are all the other visa-free countries. So that means Japan, that means Australia, that means most of the European Union, that means the UK, all those other visa-exempt countries.
So I think it's really going to hit two people create difficulty really for two people. People that aren't computer savvy. Number one, they're going to have someone do that for them,
sure.
find a computer, etc. Maybe a small percentage of people, but people that have perhaps had more colorful, youth and have left that lifestyle long behind them. They've got a DUI. They've got a small charge that has allowed them to travel. Because right now, for the most part, when somebody's flying in from England, from Ireland, there's no way to check their criminal history. They don't check their criminal history. So they've been flying for years, coming over here, doing business, visiting family, not having an issue about something that happened 30 years ago. Now they're going to have to answer these specific questions that they've never been asked before.
Right. And how many times have they been to Canada since? Right. Yeah. And all of a sudden they're ineligible?
Yeah.
Wow,
yeah, that's
well,
right.
they's always been ineligible.
Right, but
nobody
challenges
them. Right,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Alex, one other thing that you have reminded me of during the break that's coming in 2016, that this is another thing that a lot of Canadians don't know about, need to know about it, new penalties regarding foreign workers. What's that about?
Well, the previous government passed a series of measures through regulation that is probably now, I think, the end of the evolution of the labor market impact assessment process and its and penalties that are included. One of the big challenges over the last 7 or 8 years is that labor market opinions, when they were created, and that's what a labor market impact assessment is now. It's an evolution of the old labor market opinion process.
Right.
It was seen as a service to employers. That's how it was created. It had no fee. There was no bureaucracy that was dedicated to it. Instead, it was done by Service Canada, so it was the same officers who handled pension applications and EI claims.
Right.
So over the last 7 years, a bureaucracy has formed. A support bureaucracy has been created around labor market impact assessments. A fee has been added. Procedural guidelines have been tightened because of some pretty famous cases from 2013 and 14. Your listeners will remember the McDonald's case in 2014 and the Tim Hortons case where Canadian workers were being passed up allegedly for foreign workers.
Yes.
The HD mining case in 2013 when those 200 Chinese miners were to be brought up to Tumbler Ridge.
Right.
All of those cases brought foreign worker issues into the forefront. And the government, in reaction to that in part, and it also because of some structural and systemic issues, brought in a regime that had some consequences for employers that were implicit but were actually explicit. That included a blacklist that came out in 2014. If you were an employer that was found to be in violation, didn't do what you said in terms of paying what you promised that you would say, you could be blacklisted.
Okay.
Well, now they also have a series of financial penalties, some of which are quite steep, if they catch you bringing in a foreign worker and then not paying them what you say you're going to pay them, or where their conditions of work are very different.
And by blacklisting, you mean forbidding that company from participating in foreign worker activity from that point beyond, right?
And often publishing their name in the government's website to that effect.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and the fines are quite significant if you look at what the amounts that they're talking about are.
But
I
think what's interesting with this is they've actually got some flexibility, because before they could blacklist you, and I think they had the option of a large fine that they never wanted to. I think at the time, last I checked, they had 3 names on the blacklist, and that was it.
Okay.
Right? So they're issuing thousands of these opinions. They're finding violations, and they didn't have, besides the big blunt instrument, they didn't have it. These new changes are going to let them give some penalties, some financial penalties with some flexibility that I think they're going to start using, because before they thought it was too extreme,
right?
And so now they're going to be able to start, hitting.
And when do these new penalties kick in?
They're already in effect. Yeah. They came in December, or November and December, and they are now in place.
And it's likely the marketplace is pretty much unaware of them so far.
I mean, I'm hopeful that that people have, the message is starting to get out there. I mean, a labor market opinion used to be something that you could obtain, and once you had it, there were very few consequences to employers except at time of renewal. Now there's record-keeping requirements, there's a fee that you have to pay, and there are some pretty stiff penalties. Now, what that has meant is that if you have foreign workers, you're going to have to be careful with how you deal with all of the things that you've attested that you'll deal with, including work hours, including...
like keeping records.
Okay, so somebody's listening to us right now going, oh, boy, that's me. Oh, boy, that's me. Uh-oh. So where does that person go right now on a Sunday morning to just get at least a headline more than they've just heard on the radio, Alex? Where could they follow up online to get this?
Service Canada actually has a decent... their website isn't too bad on this stuff. There is a lot on the Service Canada website dealing with foreign worker compliance.
But if you want a little bit more insight, you could call us.
You can call us, or you go onto our website at www.vancouverlaw.ca.
All right. Our guests, Rudy Kisher and Alex Stojcevic. It's the Law Show here on CIL 650. And when we come back, a few final words on, obviously, the big story in this area of the law in Canada in 2015, the refugee story. And we'll have it for you when we come back.
There's more of the show still ahead. This is the Law Show on CIL 650.